Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for this lecture on why farmers markets are important. Sometimes we call them farmers markets, but they could also be community markets. So we're going to walk through in just a little bit and see all the wonderful products. You can go by if you want. You can see all the wonderful products that they have inside. We're going to talk to some people, interview some people, but just to give us an idea and refresher as far as why things like farmers markets and community markets are more important, we can take a look here and we see some different things. So for example, with the produce, they can sell seasonal and locally preserved foods. So one of the big things with farmers markets, a lot of times we can see they're locally grown. If it's locally grown, a lot of times people say, oh, that's healthy, right? And remember, something you've been learning in this class is, I don't really like the word healthy. I like to describe what the word healthy really means. So for us, healthy might mean, for example, when it's locally grown, that means the producers, if we're talking about a veggie like a tomato, they can let it sit on the vine longer, so it gets riper. If it gets riper, that means it's got more phytonutrients in it. Even more so, it gets to market faster with maybe 1 or 2 days, and that means it stays ripe, and all those wonderful phytonutrients inside the product aren't degrading. Some other things we see here, typically when we go to a farmer's market like this, we can see that they are smaller farms. They focus on polyculture more than monoculture. So the idea there again is that instead of working with a monoculture environment of a farm where maybe they're only growing corn or soybeans, we're going to see these growers have a variety of different foods that helps to keep different pests and different animals that might be more predatory out of the area. And they also means they have to typically use less pesticides and herbicides to do their job. We can also see that they're going to provide more varieties of foods than you might find in a supermarket. In just a little bit, we're going to see honey that's locally produced. We're going to see different types of, herbs and everything else that might be in an area that you might not typically see in a supermarket. One of the great things about going to farms like this is you can talk to the vendors. For example, we're going to talk to the manager of the farmers market, Steve, but also, for example, one of the chicken farmers and how they raise their chickens. We're going to hear about that process. It's something you can't typically do when you go to a supermarket because they're getting their produce and their products from many different vendors and different farms and producers. On the markets itself, why are markets like this important? Well, obviously they bring together a community. They create a positive experience through lots of different experiences that they're going to bring. So people come with their kids, they're happy, they're having fun. They come with their kids, they can experience different types of wonderful foods to eat, but also music. There's sometimes things for kids to do, for example, drawing areas. Whenever you come out to a farmer's market like this, it's a whole morning and it's a lot of fun. And the other thing they do is, some other things they do that's fun is they can provide different programs. For example, in our area, even here in Westchester County, we do have people that are food insecure. So things like the SNAP program have moved into markets like this. They made food accessible to everybody because one of the big tenets we have for social justice is that good, healthy food should be available to everybody no matter what their background is as far as their economic income. Now, farmers markets themselves, we are in Westchester County, so this farmers market itself, this is the Pleasantville Farmers Market. It is in Westchester County. This is set up once a week. You'll see in our area typically once a week. Different community markets will set up in a town one day. They pick a day. Here it's a Saturday, and they'll do this for about 5 hours, and then after the 5 hours it'll wrap up. But the fun doesn't stop after the summer. This farmer's market, for example, has a non-seasonal distribution. In the summer they're here, but in the winter they move to a middle school in the area so that, again, all the producers and the community can come together to do their job. So that's just a little bit of a background on what farmer's market is, a little bit about this one. Let's go inside now. Let's not forget to bring our reusable bags, of course, and we'll talk to some people and buy some good, healthy produce along the way. Thanks. Okay, hey guys, how's it going? I'm joined by Steve. He's the manager of the Pleasantville Farmers Market. We're just going to ask him a few questions for his perspective about why farmers markets are important. So a couple questions for you really quickly. So Sure. How many vendors do you typically have at the farmers market?
So on any given day, we'll have 40 to 45 present. There's over 55 that are part of the market. Some of the spaces rotate within the month. You'll see some vendors in 1 week and a different vendor at a different week. So all total, there's over 55 vendors, and we'll see 40 here on a given day or more. And indoors, because we're a year-round market, we'll have anywhere from 35 to 33 indoors.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the cool things about the Pleasantville Farmers Market. Not only do they have the activities during the summer seasons, but when it gets colder, you go indoors to the high school, is it? Or the
middle school?
Yeah.
So we're inside the Pleasantville middle school cafeteria.
Right.
And that allows us to not provide the connections we do for shoppers and farmers seasonally. Mm-hmm. We're open all year.
That's great. So every single market and what local means sometimes changes by definition. How does the local define usually in the farmers market here?
So we, one of my penchants is I don't utilize local.
Okay.
I use regional.
Nice. Yep.
And if I was to use another term, I'd use food shed, like a watershed, because our seafood comes from the coast. And so our vendor is asked to bring what he catches, or if he has some items which he's not a bayman, so he doesn't bring in the clams, but he lets us know from whom he gets those, and they're also from the same region. That region meaning the end of Long Island and the waters that surround.
Right.
And so we don't have Scottish salmon, because the fish from our region are what we're really trying to promote. Right. And it does the same thing for a fisherman that it does for our local growers. It promotes those things which grow in our region and have some seasonality. So just with growing patterns, there are fish that are in the winter, and there are fish that are in the summer, and there are fish that are in when there isn't a storm, and there's some fish that hide when there's a storm. So there's a lot. So regional for us means going north in the Hudson Valley. It can mean over to the Pennsylvania line as we go across New Jersey, but it's generally drawn within a 2 to 3 hour drive of the market. And we're a family farm market, so we are looking for small family farms. That's what we look to connect our shoppers to.
Wonderful, that's great. So just a few more quick questions.
Sure.
So first of all, why in your own personal opinion is a market like this important for a community?
Well, we have 3 things that we do. One of them, come on up here, and
Yeah,
you can hear me. You can hear me
hang out
count.
with you too, all right?
So one of them is making sure that we bring people down into our villages, community, and business district, and make them aware of all of what makes Pleasantville really great to visit. Smiles like that come from visiting Pleasantville. Pleasant's in our name. Number 2, we want our shoppers to be connected to the kinds of foods that I was talking about. So this gives them a connection to the producers and the fresh, raw goods to that home cooks look for, and producers of value-added goods that use regional ingredients. And the last thing is that we're trying to make sure that support keeps those growers and producers in our region. So those are really the 3 tenets of our mission.
Wonderful, that's great.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you about one more thing. So,
Sure.
And that's about your SNAP EBT program. So a lot of times we think about food insecurity in our community, and I think one of the great things that Pleasantville Farmers Market does is you have the SNAP program in place.
Right.
So can you tell us just for really briefly how that would work?
Sure. So people that utilize SNAP, or what used to be called food stamps, have a card that gives them an amount of money to help support purchases of regional fresh foods, and they can come to our management tent, swipe their card, determine how much money they would like to withdraw. The Pleasantville Lions Club matches that with an additional 40% in value. So that grant lets everyone walk into the market with 40% more value to shop with. If someone runs out of money and they want to just swipe their credit card, they can get what are called market bucks, and those are used with any vendor in the market. The only other thing I would say, because you mentioned food insecurity, we have 2 Hillside Food Donation Days coming up this summer. You can go to our calendar and find out, and that's a day where we try and encourage people to buy 2 and donate 1.
Wonderful. And
that goes to Hillside Food Pantry, Food Outreach, or other food pantries at the end of every market day. Every one. There are a group that come and collect from the farmers unsold produce.
Oh, wow.
And to date, I think it's 60 tons of food has been donated since 2014 through that process, and that fresh food gets to kitchens by Monday. Wow. So there are 2 Hillside Food Donation Days where shoppers can contribute, but every week our farmers are donating as well. So that's our way of trying to tap into that need.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually fantastic to hear. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for coming by the market.
Yeah. Great. Do you want to just zoom in and he can show you the coins for a second, how the
Oh,
coins
sure.
look?
Here you go. So these are market bucks. That's if you run out of market money to shop at the market. And these are what we call snap coins. So the $2 ones are the benefit ones, which are the 40% kick. And you can get 5s and 1s utilizing your snap card.
Wonderful. Great.
Yep.
Thank you so much again.
Yeah,
That's
thanks
great. We're
for
just
your
going to walk
patience.
around for a few minutes and then
And
we'll be all
thanks
set.
for coming by.
Hey guys, so behind us, one of the cool things about a farmer's market as well is the chance to listen to some live music. So we can see behind us, a band is all set up and a lot of people have joined around and we're going to listen to some live music. So let's give it a listen to.
Avanti, avanti, bionda fine l'ultimo è solo sulle canti ormai padrona certo sai di sorriso in pianto di voi abbatti cuore.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here talking to Claudia, and she's from Little Seed Gardens. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what produce she has here today and why she thinks farmers markets and these sort of environments are really important. Here you go.
Hi Chris, so we are at the end of market, so our display is pretty much sold. But I've been farming for 25 years. We're a certified organic farm, and we practice regenerative agriculture, which includes a lot of practices, including but not limited to organic. One of the key principles is to follow the patterns of nature, and that includes keeping the soil covered as much as possible. So like when you see an image of a farm and it looks like a desert with a few plants in it, that's not what we do. We keep our soils covered, we plant extensive cover crops, and that provides the fertility for the crops. And we rest our garden every year. We also have a small herd of cattle. And they are included in the rotation in the grazing the year before, so the animals play an important factor as well. And with regenerative agriculture, we actually have the power to solve all of our climate change problems. We manage about 3/4 of the surface of the earth, and we do a very poor job of that, and agriculture is one of the key polluters in the world. Yeah. So choosing how you eat is one of the most practical things you can do to get system change to deal with climate change. And there's regenerative practices help sequester carbon, right? When you keep the soil and the life cycles mobilized, the natural process of the earth, which sequesters carbon, is
So can
in
I ask you a
action.
couple quick
Yeah,
questions
sure.
Just about how your product works. So one of the things that I like that I heard, and it's what you can back up also. So this is not a monoculture farm. You've got a polyculture environment going on. You're growing many different vegetables. Then also obviously you're doing the whole cycle as far as it's not just what you grow, but also different animals that come in, graze, keep it down. And with that sort of thing also, when we do markets like this where we work with different growers like yourself, one of the great things also is we get to eliminate a lot of the pesticides and herbicides that we may see instead in those monoculture environments where we're just growing lots of corn and soybean and those sort of products. I don't know if you want to touch on that for a second.
Exactly, and those cultures require all those inputs because the natural biological processes are destroyed. The water, mineral, and energy cycles are trashed in a monoculture where you're just seeing corn. But in a polyculture, there's so much diversity and you have so much access to the life of the soil and the nutrients that you don't need to use all those inputs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep,
Really
enjoy.
Yep. So here we are looking at Picklicious, and Picklicious is a regional pickle distributor and maker. One of the great things about this type of seller is that not only do they have pickles, but they also have lots of different varieties of olives, different stuffed tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, etc., that you may not be able to find in your local supermarket. So you get lots of different variety to keep your diet exciting with different tastes and flavors throughout your week. Hey everybody, how's it going? We're talking to Nick from Campanelli Farms, and one of the great things about farmers markets is that when you buy in a supermarket things like produce like chicken, etc., you don't know the backstory as far as where did that chicken come from, how was it raised, who raised it, what conditions, etc. But when you come to a farmers market, you can have that conversation. So Nick was going to talk to us for just a minute. So you want to tell us about your farm?
Sure. So, Campanelli's Poultry Farm, we run an all-natural poultry farm. We have been getting into a lot of lamb, all-natural lamb. Everything's raised out on pasture. Everything's fed an all-natural grain diet. Everything's free roaming. Nothing's caged. Nothing's, treated poorly. Anything. We take care of our animals with everything the best way we can.
Right.
Basically, we raise from a day old to final product. We butcher all our own meats. We raise everything ourselves, and then we break down everything into all your different cuts, parts. We use everything.
Yeah, even dog trees, right?
Treats, yep, we use everything, every part of the animal. We use the bones for soups and stuff like that. But yeah, we're an all-natural local farm. We're from Canosa Lake, New York. That's where we're located. It's right outside Monticello. People are probably more familiar with that.
Well, you did hit a lot of the things that I always think about when I'm in a supermarket. I'm like, what was the grain, what was the feed? But we can actually come to a farmer's market and talk to the grower as far as what does the animal eat, how was the conditions when it was raised, and that's the great thing about these sort of things. I guess the only other question I have for you is, you're part of the Pleasantville Farmers Market. How much do you like being part of community markets like this? Is it fun to come out and do it?
I think it's a nice thing to put good product out for everybody for it to be accessible easily. So, and then people know where their food comes from versus in the grocery store, you don't always know exactly where it comes from. But
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
No
that was
problem.
great. So guys, one of the advantages you can see is that we're in a supermarket, you may only get 1 or 2 varietals of honey. Look at all the wonderful different varietals you may have never seen. For example, buckwheat honey. We see here some knotweed honey, and of course, all local. And as we can see, farmers markets don't just mean produce, meats, etc. It can also mean different types of libations. For example, locally made ciders, hard ciders, that come from apple trees in the region, as well as wines. Okay guys, well that just about wraps it up for us from the Pleasantville Farmers Market. We just went shopping ourselves, got some nice fruits and veggies and some produce for us to take home. And what I really want you to do is think back and reflect now on everything we learned today with this lecture video. So think about things like we learned about polyculture versus monoculture. We saw the ways that different people raise their chickens and how that process works. We also learned important processes, for example, social justice as far as food insecurity and things like the SNAP program, which brings good food to people. So hopefully now you can go out to a community market where you are and do a reflection based on what we learned here today. Thanks a lot for you guys for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.